Hey, what's up guys? Ivan here with Head Start to Riches. So I want to share something I just read with you guys, and I think you're probably going to get a kick out of it. But before I do, I want you to know, like, children are just starting up school. I'm sure they probably had their first day last week. Maybe it's coming up this week for them. And, during this time when kids are going back to school, as a parent, you're trying to make sure they have everything that they need. They have all their books, they have their book bag, they have the supplies, and more importantly, they have their new school clothes. And I know this could be a pressing time for parents because you want to give them the most, you want to give them the best, but you might be limited on what you can provide. Or you don't want to overdo it because you feel like, some of this stuff could get really expensive, or you don't want to get them feeling like spoiled. So it depends on you as a parent, like how you're upbringing them. But I can tell you right now, when it comes to designer clothing, it can get very expensive very quickly. And children, they're gonna want everything. They're gonna want anything that they can get their hands on, because the last thing they're trying to do is become like bullied or teased in school for not having like designer clothing. Now, if you have a child that's going to a school that has like a class uniform, you might not have to worry too much about this. But this message, this whole video is about clothing shopping for your children for school, okay? Like, how much should you spend? How much is enough? Now, before I go into the story, I want to say this one last thing. When it comes to providing for your children, wealthy people have a different mentality when it comes to money and when it comes to how much they should give to their children. So with that in mind, let's listen to this story that I just read. So there's a book about John D Rockefeller, okay? It's called The Titan, written by Ron Chernow, sorry. And he had done a bunch of research about the upbringing of his children, how John D Rockefeller brought up his children. And I had read this story, and I think it's crazy, but it just shows the mentality of a billionaire, okay? So during that time, a lot of children that came from wealthy families were blowing their money, okay? They were spending it recklessly, and they were becoming alcoholics, and they just weren't going to be able to maintain that legacy. So John D Rockefeller Sr. didn't want that to happen. He didn't want to hand all this money over and then, go ahead and just watch it get wasted. So check this out. He had 4 children, okay? 3 girls, 1 boy. And this is how frugal he was. This is how concerned he was about maintaining their legacy. He made sure that not only were they on strict allowances, he dressed his youngest son, okay, John D Rockefeller Jr., in dresses, in little girl dresses, up until the age 8 years old, okay? This is something that I read, I can't prove it, but this is what was in that book, The Titan. And you would think, like, why would he do that? What does that have to do with saving money? Well, it turns out because Junior was the youngest, he was forced to wear hand-me-downs. And because he had nothing but older sisters, he had to wear dresses, okay? Now, let's just stop and think about that right now. I mean, you are already rich. They already live on an estate that has hundreds, maybe even thousands of acres. They have all types of money, and this guy is dressing his little son in a dress. I mean, if there's something beyond, being frugal, then I don't know about that. But if in terms of being frugal, you would think that's a bit extreme. Like, who the hell would do that? I know I would never do that, but I can tell you that he was doing it, and he did it up until the age 8 years old. So if you really think about it, you got to ask yourself, are you willing to do that? Do you have that mentality? Are you willing to go ahead and subject your child to wearing dresses? Now, again, I mean, I can only speak for myself. To me, I would rather be poor than to dress my son in a dress. But I can tell you right now, it really shows the level of commitment when it comes to saving money and being frugal. And this was a lesson that he wanted to teach his children. And to be honest, I guess it kind of worked because they didn't blow through all their money. You know, the Rockefellers do still sit on a $1 billion estate, a multi-billion dollars, and it worked. You know, I mean, they you know, all the children became very successful and they didn't blow through the money. But it just goes to show the mentality that some wealthy people have and what they're willing to do to go ahead and maintain their legacy. So with that said, when you're going clothing shopping, you know, I'm not saying to you know, give your children hand-me-downs or to dress in a, you know, to shop at a thrift store, but you do have to think about what type of example are you setting to your children. You know, do they need 3 pairs of Michael Jordans? Do they need, you know, some new, you know, like, you know, Yeezys, you know, Kanye West shoes? Do they need Gucci? Do they need all that? You know, I mean, like, really think about it and ask yourself, how is this going to go ahead and kind of sway your child? You know, is it going to give them a sense of entitlement, or are they going to feel like they have to work for it, or they're going to have to like think their way into a better set of clothes? You know, are they going to be able to produce their own money? So with that said, I'm going to leave it at that. There's a documentary on YouTube that covers this, where you see the author Ron Chernow. I keep messing up his name, I'm sorry. He talks about this in detail with this story and everything else. Maybe I'll put the link in here if you want to hear it for yourself. But I thought it was fascinating. I want to share that with you. And with that said, don't overdo it when it comes to shopping. And, you know, I hope this makes sense. All right? Have a good one, guys. Thanks.